Welcome back to a new episode of Lifestyle of the Broken Creative Podcast. Today's episode is titled Larger Than Life, which describes our next guest perfectly. We are currently in the midst of Disability Pride Month, and our next guest is a multi-talented creator with a ton of personality. He not only entertains, but he educates the masses on and off his social media platforms. Currently working on his debut documentary about dwarfism, disability hate groups, and finding your freedom, titled Dear Average Height People. Please welcome to the show, Aubrey Smalls. Hi, Aubrey. Thank you so much for joining me today. How are you?
I'm doing so well. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Better that you're here. I appreciate you taking the time. I know you're a busy guy, so I appreciate you taking the time so you can share your story with me and some of my listeners. And we have a lot to talk about, so let's just jump right in.
Let's break it down.
Okay.
I love the questions you got.
Thank you. I like to think a little bit outside of the norm. I don't like when people are so repetitive with their questioning. So that's what we do here. We get creative. So to start, I do want to know, what is your preferred terminology that you like other people to use when describing you or your body? Is there certain words that people shouldn't use?
Yeah, we'll do a little housekeeping because I use a lot of terms sometimes that I forget people don't realize. So for me, I have dwarfism, which there's many different types, but I specifically have a form called dystrophic dysplasia. Okay. And because of that, when people reference my type of disability, I prefer person with dwarfism. Little person's fine. That's what most people who have dwarfism use. The LPA, which stands for Little People of America, it's little people. So that's most common. So I use kind of both of them interchangeably. I'll be like, I have dwarfism, but then other LPs, little person. It really just depends on the context. But I think the reason why is just because sometimes people will use it in a demeaning way. They're just trying to figure out a way to not refer to you as a person. So then they're little person. But person with dwarfism is fine. I don't love dwarf is the only one I'm like, when people are like, oh, you're a dwarf. And I'm like, no.
No, I'm a person.
I'm a person who has dwarfism.
I can understand that. So what was it like growing up for you? I think everyone has bullying, but I think, could you explain exactly what your growth was like and how you felt you overcame youth and everything? Because I feel like that's what it is. Yeah. Youth is something that we all have to overcome in some kind of way.
Yeah, truly. I was the only little person in my family. I was adopted, but most little people anyways have average height families. I think it's 80% have average height parents and siblings. We did go to some meetings for little people because every state will have a chapter of people with dwarfism who meet, and they'll have Halloween parties and a Christmas thing and bowling alley. That was a big thing. But I didn't really like going to those, honestly, because the other kids were kind of bullies, even though they had dwarfism. But
it's everywhere.
It's literally, that's just what I've learned in life every year. But I wasn't really conscious of the fact that I had dwarfism, and I now as an adult have had to unpack a lot of experiences where I was just like, why did that kid say that? I used to get a lot, are you real? Kids would just come up to me and be like, are you real? And I would always be like, what? So confused. What does that mean? Do we exist? Is water wet? That I get a lot. I get kids come up and call me monkey a lot, which I always was also as a Black person was just unaware of that as well, just because I didn't see myself as a Black little person. I just saw myself as I loved theater, I loved music, I loved karaoke, I loved socializing. But I definitely think I was able to I was like not broken back then. So I had a positive spirit that I think carried me through what could have been. I think it was more in teenagehood that I was like, yeah, people are mean.
Yeah. I think that is like when you become a little more less self-aware and you're starting to focus a little outer body, and that's when you start to notice and understand a little bit more like, fuck, they weren't liking me, they were being assholes. So I think that that's the awakening for a lot of people, teenage years. Especially, I know as a queer person, that was mine, because before that, I didn't even understand what the word gay was. It was like, oh, you just walk past them, like, I didn't understand it then as a teenager. It's like, oh, fuck, they're calling me gay.
Yeah, no, it's like, across, that's why I'm like, I love being in so many different minority groups, because it's like interesting how they all interlap and like, but yeah, my queer experience had to wait, because they were like, listen, girl, you're Black and you're a little person first. Like,
let's figure this out. So did you have any people that you looked up to as a child that really inspired you, maybe in your teenage years? Especially, you were just saying that you were really into like music and theater. So did you always want to be involved in media and film?
Yeah, I grew up in a performing background anyways. I grew up in the circus world. So I did like large stage illusions. I did like specialty acts. I did a lot of comedy. But I did always love like movies and TV shows. I used to have to get surgeries all the time when I was a kid. And I'd be in the hospital or just like in recovery for so long. And I used to just watch my favorite movies on repeat. So I think that was always the end goal. I just truly didn't know that was a possibility. And in my brain, because of representation and just because of like having surgery so often back then, it was always just like a dream. But I think I didn't really have any disabled icons when I was younger. It was really when I started getting older that I started doing my own research and introducing myself to this stuff, because nothing against having average parents, but you do have to expose your kids, if they're part of a minority group, in my opinion, to like the history and the culture of it all. I do have to say that the person that I feel like the most encouraged me to be disabled I was a teenager when Born This Way was like just coming out. And
Mama.
And I was like, queer, people of color, disabled people were ahead of its time, but we were already checking two boxes, and I felt very seen in that regard. And then Warwick Davis was another person he is a little person. He's in the movie Willow. And that was really the only thing I saw him in as a kid. And I hated the movie as a child, truly, absolutely hated it. But I loved that he was in it, but I hated that movie. I was a scaredy cat, and in the first two scenes, people are being eaten alive. I can't do that. So,
and it was kind of long for back then. I was like, it was one of those movies that seemed like it never ended. But I feel like that was like one of the main characters who really like portrayed a powerful role for a little person. So I understand that too.
It's because of that. I'm like, one day I'm gonna shoot some like epic fantasy and have my Willow moments. And it's all because of work.
And it will be 3 hours long.
And it will be 3 hours. I'm gonna be like, sit your ass in the theater. Oppenheimer Part 2. Okay.
Yes. So what are some misconceptions that the world has about little people, or just more specifically, the world tends to have about you?
I think there's just so many, there's just so many. Every day I encounter a new batch of just absurd comments that's like, you didn't know that? Or crazy. I was doing research on a video today about the Americans with Disabilities Act, because it's the anniversary this month of when it was signed. And I don't know how I ended up on some Reddit thread, and it was like, people with dwarfism shouldn't be allowed to breed. And then it was this whole like paragraph that was like talking about like how, because there's a chance that if two little people have a baby, there is a chance that the child could have like both dominant like genes or whatever of the dwarfism, and that is fatal. So they don't live in that case. So that is a risk that people with dwarfism face, because there is a chance that that could happen, but I mean, there's chances of bad things happening for every pregnancy.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, like, and this might be real controversial, but like, for people who aren't able to bear a child naturally, and then they go through in vitro processes, like, it's the same kind of risk.
There's so a lot of risk.
Yeah, and there's so many other things, and our maternal rate right now is not great. So you know, I feel like people just love to get involved in things that have nothing to do with them. I'm like, mind your business.
They do. They people are always looking to punch down. People are always looking to, instead of like, like, who sits there and is like type people with dwarfism shouldn't breed.
And
like,
it's not scary even, like, for you to be also included. It's like, why are you coming for actual people? People are psychotic. I'm like,
psychotic. But I think that people just assume that because we're like even sometimes a foot and a half shorter than the average height person, that we're suddenly, every part of our life is different, that we don't have social lives, that we don't, it's all like assumptions about stuff that we can't do, instead of like, oh, you probably can't reach stuff. Oh, like you probably have trouble driving. Oh, you probably have trouble getting clothes. It's always like putting these like assumptions that it's us, like what the no. But we're slowly trying to educate and break down some of these misconceptions. That's why I think it's just so important for little people to be visible. My representation matters, because it's not about like little people seeing little people. It's about like everybody else in the world seeing little people.
Yeah,
because we exist.
Yeah, and I think it's teaching people, you know, human decency, which is an unfortunate thing that other people need to teach other. It's like, you know what?
Yeah.
You should have learned this a long fucking time ago. You expect children to act maybe a certain way, but you're supposed to grow out of those things. But
talking about children, I mean, I have conversations with kids all the time that I feel are more productive than I do with adults. Like, I was explaining the M word to this child down the street, and for those who are listening who don't know, it's a slur used for little people. And she was like, yeah, I've heard kids at school use it to bully other kids. And she didn't know it was, she was like maybe like 9. And she's like, I didn't know it was about little people, but she understood the like
context
the
of it. Yeah.
Context. Like, and ever since then, every time I see her, she's telling me about how she like told this person not to use it and explain it. And I'm like, children are more like, they don't care really. Kids are more for equality than adults are.
Exactly. And it's dependent on what you teach them. And like, hateful kids go into a world where people are trying to promote love, like they get excluded themselves. So it's just like, it's a lose-lose situation in that aspect. And then, as a queer person, do you find that the LGBTQ plus community is more or less inclusive towards differently abled individuals, more so or less than the rest of the world? Or we have a lot of growing to do also?
We have a lot of work to do. I'm like still kind of shocked that the like queer community conversation never really includes disabled people. It's like very interesting how it's like, and that just ties back to what I was saying earlier, like everything's the same. Like the queer community is the same as the straight community. They're like pushing their own, like with how, you know, plus size models is just like, we're barely getting there still with stuff like that. And diversity, it's the same in our community where we're like, oh yeah, everyone can be accepted in our community, but like we're really only going to accommodate and highlight and showcase and talk about very specific types of queer people. But just in my experience, it depends definitely where I am. Like New York was definitely so much better as a little person, as a Black person, as a queer person. Arizona, they've never even seen a Black person, let alone a Black little person.
Oh
So
my God.
even the queer community here is not nice. I just remember going out when I was first turned 21 and going to like the popular gay bars and stuff, and people being so mean, like for no reason.
I've been out quite a bit in Arizona, and they are not nice. I'm like, what is up with these beefed up girls? Why are they so angry? It's too hot, I guess.
Angry.
And then none of them have color. I'm like, where's your tan? It's been hot all year.
Yeah, but it's like very like behind closed doors. They're fine with like people of color, people with disabilities. So it's very much to me like an ableist mindset. Because I'm like, that's just the general consensus. I think a lot of people that they think that there's socially still so many stigmas attached to people with disabilities that associating with them, you're like. So that's why it's like, they'll be like mean as spit to you in public and like rude to you and ignore you and exclude you, but still be hitting you up.
Could never be just mean to someone. I don't understand where that comes from.
I think it's also too just like a lot of, and that's I think something all little people experience regardless of like sexuality or gender, is just like men seeing little people as being like either children or like an object, and it's like real scary sometimes to see people who are like these normal members of like society and like in the community being like worshipped, and they'll send you the most like predatory, weird, like
fucking cave people. I'm like
cave people, and I'm like, I think the FBI should be alerted.
Yes, exactly. That's what I don't understand how people can get away with some of the social media harassment that I'm like, oh, this shit is monitored. I'm like, I don't think so, because I see a lot of shit get through.
It's not monitored. Please, let's be so for real. I'm like, they're literally kicking their feet up on their desks. Every report team on every social media app is literally like sitting there like,
okay,
we'll get to it when we get to it.
Exactly. The automated 24 to 72 hour response. There you go.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So speaking about social media, because you have a strong social media presence, does it ever feel like too much burden to carry? Because I feel like you inspire a buttload of people, but then you have like a lot of trolls, as we've mentioned in some of this as well. You know, how do you stay motivated and keep at it?
I think because I'm just really thankful for the opportunity to have a platform. I've definitely tried in the years past starting a YouTube channel or a TikTok or posting content on Instagram about dwarfism awareness, because I just think it's really important to normalize, quote unquote, people with dwarfism. But with TikTok especially, it's been great with spreading the word about the film I'm making. And that to me is the drive. So the hate comments and all that stuff, that thankfully I've dealt with every single variation of them in every part of my life, from like every person. Like it's really insane how many different ways you can be harassed by an average white person for living your life. So the comments really don't affect me, because there are so many people who I do think are like someone commented last night and said that she works at a bar and one of her patrons used that word all the time, and she stood up to him last night and refused him service if he didn't apologize. And he did. And he said he wouldn't use it again. So ally. And I was like, that is so worth it to me. Like, that's so crazy, because I don't get like, it's been great for fundraising for my film, but I don't get paid for my TikTok videos. I don't get like brand deals. It's like purely just off of the vibes of like trying to spread the word, trying to build an audience so that when we do, because we've been applying for so many grants and like trying to get support from the film industry, and that has not been as successful as just talking to people on TikTok about the message of the film, what we're trying to do. So that to me every day is just because I just know people are gonna absolutely gag when they see what we have planned. So I just know.
Let's talk about that a little bit more, because you said, you've been working really hard to complete your debut documentary titled Dear Average White People. It's set to release sometime this next year. So tell us a little bit more about the film and what can the audience expect?
So the film really started because 2 years ago, when I was starting to post on YouTube, I was trying to kind of do comedy mixed with dwarfism awareness. Just like this was 2021 early, like the vibes were still dull, and I was like, people need to laugh, but people need to learn. So I started posting. I did like truly have no social media presence back then at all.
Okay.
So it was just like 10, 20 views, but I was doing it every single week for like 6 or 7 months. And eventually I kept noticing on every Wednesday, I was getting like these like spikes in views. Okay. And I was like, what? And I went into my analytics and it was like someone with the stream name Midget Wednesday is like playing these videos. So then I like got into this deep dive of this account on YouTube that had thousands of followers that was live streaming videos and pictures of little people every week as a part of a show he called Midget Wednesday.
Wow.
And he would just basically say the most objectifying, racist, homophobic, like my nickname on the show is Niglet.
What?
Yeah. And this was like monetized by YouTube. These videos are still up.
That is crazy.
Crazy. And he was getting donations. Not only, again, was he monetized by YouTube,
but
donations every stream. And it was literally like thousands of dollars over months that he was making videos about me. And then eventually I tried to get some of these videos taken down and learned that the YouTube support system, as we said earlier, they're not doing anything over there.
Yeah.
But what they do is if you try to get one of your videos taken down, they basically send the other person all of your information and they're like, this person's trying to get their videos taken down. So then it started a whole like doxing journey of like not being able to post anymore because they were like, every time I did anything on any social media platform, it was just like the trolls and the comments and who knows what my video would be used for. I was like, what is like a way to respond to this?
Yeah.
And one of my dearest friends who's also been in the industry for so long, she's also a little person. She's about to go on tour right now with Andrew Lloyd Webber's Phantom of the Opera sequels called Love Never Dies. She has been on tour with Miley Cyrus. She was on RuPaul's Drag Race. She's an associate, not producer, but associate transcriber on RuPaul's Drag Race still. She's just an icon. And we were talking about this whole thing and we were like, what should we do? And I was like, I feel like I should make a long form project about this because also as an actor, like representation in Hollywood sucks. And I had been on enough, like I had gotten a weird winning streak of just like these crazy auditions at the very beginning of when I started acting. And I feel like that helped give me like a good perspective of like, anything else probably is going to be less than what this is. So if this isn't good, like it just wasn't feeling worth it to me. To pursue trying to get like a traditional role because they just don't know what to do with little people. Like I've straight up had people like in these meetings tell me like for stuff that I've written, like, oh, we can't have multiple little people in it because it will just come across a certain way. Huh?
Like,
what?
How? What
How?
way?
In what way is that gonna
Oh my
explain
gosh.
it quickly?
I can't.
So it was kind of a culmination of like years of like meeting new little people who are so talented who aren't getting work, me having to go to these auditions and be like, I don't really like this. Like I swore off of acting and like performing until I started my project because I was like, the world doesn't deserve little people on screen. But then I was like, you know what? You might as well try. So we started developing it. We started meeting other little people who were included in these Midget Wednesday shows. And then after like a year of working on it kind of privately, we were like, let's fundraise so that we can actually employ little people and pay people because it really started off as more of like a passion project. And then we were like, but the end goal was always for it to be good enough to be on a big screen. Because we were like, we really want to see it in person with people. Again, this was 2021. With people on a big screen because little people deserve like the same level of production value and to see ourselves not on like a tiny little streaming screen, like we deserve the same fairness, I think.
Get the full story.
So it kind of just kept developing and we kept meeting new people and kind of realizing that this was more than just like a small little response to a YouTube video.
Okay.
So what people can expect is definitely a traditional documentary in terms of we're going to be sitting down and talking and exploring the lives of different little people. And my intention is for it to be a little bit more diverse than kind of the white middle-aged man with dwarfism that we usually see on screen, and really explore like doctors and normal everyday people and how dwarfism affects their life, people who are performers, educators, how they're overcoming these boundaries. But also it's going to be like a really fun like Beyonce visual album of just like badass little people who just
I wouldn't expect less from you though, but
nothing less, baby. But yeah, we just need to like really get these, like there's just so many like musicians, dancers, models, like performers, and instead of just being like blah 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 dwarfism this, for some scenes we definitely want to have like visual representations and parodies and skits, so kind of like a variety show. Like I grew up watching, I love the Cara Brunette show.
Yes.
So definitely like one of those, like more of like a variety special.
Okay.
Just like a pure documentary, but
I love it.
For sure, still an educational experience.
Yes. Okay. But I mean, for those people who aren't gonna sit down and watch a documentary, this sounds like it's a lot more, and it gives you a little bang for your buck. So
some surprises in there.
Yes, I love it. Ooh, it sounds exciting. And we can all go to dearaverageheightpeople.com to check out the trailer and donate,
to learn more, to support our fundraiser, etc., etc.
I love that. I'm already there. And if it happens to premiere in New York,
that's the goal. That's the goal. I want to do a screening everywhere.
Yes, I see it for you. I think the concept is beautiful. And watching the trailer, I was like, you do get that visual effect. So it's like, oh yes,
it's gonna be the next.
This is gonna happen. Yes. Let's go party. Okay. I want to know though, like, what is going on with Hollywood? I mean, we see everything with the writer's strike right now, so we have an idea, like it's just psychotic greed and just whitewashing everything. There's a lot of just exclusion in Hollywood, but when it comes to little people and people with disabilities, why is it that we're not seeing more inclusion? We ask for it for everything. But we're seeing like films use CGI to create the appearance of little people, like in the new Wonka film. I'm like, why use Hugh Grant? That doesn't make any sense.
Makes no sense.
I'm like, and then for an Oompa Loompa, so that's like historically, and I learned this watching your TikTok videos, that Oompa Loompa was historically just a controversial character in itself. Why are they still missing the mark? Do you think it's intentional?
I think they're so disconnected from everybody, the people who are making these decisions.
Yeah.
Because there's such a chain of command for these big budget films. Like it's like not even up to the director half the time. Half the time it's the studio being like, hey, come and pitch us this. Hey, come and pitch us this. Hey, come and pitch us this. So it's these men sitting who are like able-bodied, who are like, you know, heterosexual white men, essentially. And even if they aren't, there's nobody sitting at these major studios with a disability sitting on one of these major, like, you know, producing boards. And these things come around and they're like, little people or no little people, like they have an investment to the IP. Like they're gonna do Wonka, they're gonna do Snow White until the day we all die. But on paper, they're like, I mean, we don't know any little people. We don't know anybody in the disability community. So instead of doing that, they're just gonna do what they know to do, which is to cast average able-bodied actors. So I think it's just down to getting, like, I truly believe that every studio should have like an executive with a disability, because they're just going to be able to, obviously you can't represent everybody, but it's like better than now. So I think they're just scared, that they're scared of, if you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. So they'd rather just not, because historically in entertainment for little people, for literally the past like 300-400 years, people with dwarfism are just like objects for entertainment. Like
Yeah.
we went from court dwarfs to freak shows to no time in between. Like
Yeah.
I think people need to realize like there's literally been no time recently when little people have been provided. Like we literally just passed laws to protect disabled people in the 90s. Like, so I think there's just been no period when little people have been treated fairly or seen as fairly, and the same people who were involved in those horrible depictions of little people 20, 30 years ago are still the people in charge now. Like,
exactly. Yeah.
So it just takes independent people coming up, I think, truly. And that's why I thought it was important to do this project and to pour everything into it, because I was like, what am I waiting for? I was like,
exactly.
Literally, who am I waiting? I'm only getting older. And I'm only watching my friends like not enjoy what they do anymore because they're just told no all the time. So yeah.
You would think at this point, like, to please everyone, I'm like, isn't that what we want? We want everyone to sort of be entertained. So why not include and collaborate? It's like, if you're going to have little people in a film, why not have them at the table and discuss, even if they're not at the top? Like, you're like so scared of making moves. Ask the people, ask everyone who you're trying to get involved in this stuff. They're the ones that are trying to do the representation.
And they're sitting on such gold mines half the time. See, that's why I'm like, you are scared because you're weak.
Exactly. It's like, because if you get sued, it's not gonna affect you. You're not gonna be.
I'm like, I mean, I get what people were saying with the Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs thing, if you have no imagination. But if you're, I'm looking at that stuff and I'm like, again, they're gonna do it regardless. I'm like, it's the biggest film, it's gonna be the biggest film that Disney promotes. And I'm like, you could have literally created these like it's co-written by Greta Gerwig.
Yeah.
I'm like, you couldn't have had, I think Greta Gerwig could have written 7 little people rules that weren't dehumanizing. And you could have had them like, sure, not everyone wants, like you would still have some little people who would be like, there shouldn't be, but I'm like, no, you could also create real characters, and that's what we want in the little people community. We want equality. We don't want to be called, don't call them the Seven Dwarfs though. I mean, give them names and just have them have dwarfism and use it as a way to talk about stuff like ableism. Like, how does that fit into the world? Like, if they're still going to promote the original Snow White, they should, and still have like the little people literally be like holding up the Disney offices in Burbank. Like, there's literally statues of the Seven Dwarfs like holding up the office. So I'm like, it's like, you could have built these iconic characters, spin-off, Disney Plus series. Like, come on, people. Feature during Disability Pride Month. Come on.
It's crazy. It's like, get innovative. They want to just reuse and recycle, but they don't want to evolve. I'm like, come on. You could do so much with the story.
That one TikTok is like my mantra of, can I curse? Can I say the B word?
Yeah, of course. I feel like we've been...
I just forgot to ask her. I was like, never mind. But that literally my mantra in life is like, I need someone to make it into a theme song for me. Is that one TikTok where
bitch,
like,
you think it's small.
You think it's small. You need to be thinking big. Think big, bitch. Think big, bitch. That's literally all I hear in my brain. Like, even when I get a hate comment, I'm looking at it and I'm like, you're thinking small. You need to be thinking big. Like, come on, people, move on. Not truly, again, is my life.
Tiring. Oh my god.
Think big, bitch. Like, elevate your mind.
You're unoriginal. I can't. But like, let's talk about this too, because you do that funny TikTok response. I mean, I fucking cannot believe people with these comments. Like, it drives me insane. I'm just like, you have the fucking audacity. But they don't show their faces either, most of them.
Never.
But
the smart ones.
Yeah, exactly. The the ones that didn't just sign on yesterday, they don't show their faces. But did you start this trend that you do on the videos?
I know. I'm like, what do I even call this trend?
I don't know.
Like, what do I call it? I didn't even know it was a trend until like I had done it for like a month or two, and some of them had done well, and I went to like the audio to save it on one of them, and there was like 1,000 videos, and one of them had like 1 million likes, and I was like, what? So that was weird for me. And then I was like going back through every one of them, and I'm like, oh my god, there's like literally like at least 2,000 of these, and I haven't checked in like 2 months. But that was just like such a a validating experience for me.
Yeah.
Because I had started off my page on TikTok talking about like purely accessibility, purely dwarfism history, purely my project. And then you have to pivot on that app because I was posting all the time because I was dedicated. Because I saw it as a real opportunity to connect with people, and you just got to break into that damn algorithm.
Yes.
But I was like, it does get tired having to explain to like people who are above the age of like 5 why not to say hateful things like willingly. And so I just one day I literally just like I literally took 5 seconds and just propped up my camera and made a funny face. And then I just had like the vision in my brain for like the sound. And I just went into like the sound effects on TikTok, and I found like, we always get like the leprechaun remarks. We always get like the like gremlin remarks. And there was this like trolly sounding laugh. And I added that in, and then this like, it just, I just started doing that, and it just popped off, and it ended up being a better way of. Now, needless to say, that's when I realized what the real algorithm on TikTok is like. Like I, at one point, was getting 50,000 comments a day, and I guarantee you at least 10 or 20 were like purely get hit by a car, I want to throw you, I would own you. Like little people shouldn't exist, like all of those types. Like literally people editing videos of me when I would cross the street, like with cars hitting me, and I'd report them, and TikTok was like, we didn't find a problem.
What the fuck?
They're like, no violation found.
The things that I get violated for, boo, I'm like,
literally,
what the fuck is wrong with this? Well, I
I'm
don't
one
know what's
strike
going
away from
on
getting
here.
banned.
It's so crazy. Don't run at the camera, boo. It's volatile, apparently. Like, you're violent.
Hell no.
Holy shit.
But it was just really, it's a fun way, I think, to be like, a lot of people know it's wrong, and it starts a conversation about it, and I don't have to do all the heavy lifting.
Exactly.
I've done
I feel like it's saying fuck you without like using the words, and you don't have to explain like, okay, you're an asshole. Look, now I'm gonna make you look like an asshole. So,
I'm nodding to this. And I will say that I didn't realize the true power that I'm learning as I go. Some people, like, I try never to do accounts that are like people with their faces or like visibly minors or stuff like that, because unfortunately, like TikTok, some people do, like, there's the people who get it, the people who are like hateful, and the people who just want to like dox someone or like bully someone. So I had to be conscious about that now, and it's why I kind of try to do it in different ways. But I do think it's important for disabled people to stand up for ourselves, and to say F you however we would like.
I should start looking through your comments, because I'll DM some fucking people and be like, bitch.
Some of them are really scary, and
that is crazy. I can't.
And you go into like I always forget that there's a folder where all the like comments that TikTok itself flagged has, and I'll go to my like to review them all, because you can approve them, and it'll just be like hundreds of the craziest comments you've ever seen in your life.
Oh my gosh.
People have so much time, much time. Also, a lot of people definitely are attracted to little people, and just like I feel like how like some like people feel like you have to bully someone if you like them. I think the same thing happens where you get some people who are like, just want your attention, just want you to respond. Like, it's just that, but they don't
like,
know any
please
other way
make a video for me, Aubrey.
Yes, I'll go to their page and they follow me.
Weird.
Please.
I can't. It's like, you look, I don't know. I really don't know. I don't even understand people like that. That's why, honestly, I don't even feel comfortable doing any kind of live things, because I'm just like, people are so aggressive and scary. Aggressive. I don't like that.
Scary. I go on TikTok live, and every single comment is about my ass. And I'm like, at a certain point, you can't just sit there and be like, they're flooding the comments, because it only shows like 2 or 3 comments at a time. So I'm like, why? It's like a different algorithm on TikTok live. Like, it really is showing it to like the gutter.
Exactly. They're like the only people that are sitting here watching all day. Here you go.
And I everyone's always like, why do you end your lives so quickly? And it's because I'll be like dancing to a song, and then I'll be like, it's probably just some loser sitting there just like And I was like, bye.
Exactly. I start to think, it's like, oh no, what am I doing?
Like, wait, it's not just me and the girls.
This isn't free. This is not free. Oh my gosh. Aubrey, I swear, I would fuck someone up for you.
Thank you. We need to build an army.
Gladly. It'll be very gay, but it'll work.
Gay and powerful.
Yes. So I want to know, let's go back to your film a little bit. Like, what has the filmmaking process been like? And other than funding, what are some challenges that you come across while in production?
I love that question because literally my whole life the last year has just been like funding.
Yeah.
Because it's like there's so much you can do and so much you can plan for if you don't know when you're going to get to that goal. So but at the same time, as a creative, I'm just so excited. We put like literally a year of work into this before we even started funding. We did some like test footage.
Yeah.
So we like really know exactly who we want, what we want, so I think that it's just really showed me, because I never saw myself as like a director. I never saw myself like ever in that sense. I would not that I wouldn't want to, just because like, again, I didn't grow up in this industry. So writing especially and acting was kind of what was getting me in the door at first. But with the writing, it was just, it's just, writers are treated horribly. And actors are treated horribly. And I was like, I really need to get to the root of the problem, which is that every time there's little people on screen, it's like average height people directing it. And they don't even know like things about like eye levels and setting the right eyesight level. So there's always just like this weird angle they give little people. And they don't know stuff like spacing for like visuals. So it's always like scenes with an average height person and a little person can look a little awkward sometimes because they just don't know exactly what to do. So just for me, the biggest hurdle has just been like networking with people who understand the vision. A lot of people don't understand. Like, I had someone who's a producer tell us that having one of the goals of the film, if we exceed our initial fundraising goal, is to have all these musicians that we know and these artists who have dwarfism be able to produce an original soundtrack for us. Because right now we have a lot of musicians with dwarfism who have offered up pre-existing work, but I think it would be really cool to create something original with all these people, so that at the end of the film you could be like, I love that song, let me go check it, or I love that little background beat, and they're like, oh, those were all little people. And this one producer is like, who cares? Like, who literally cares? That doesn't matter. And I'm like, well, so it's just about
this is the whole point of the documentary, but okay.
What do you mean it doesn't matter? So I think just like learning stuff like that, and also just learning that it's gonna be up to us to do it. That you really can't rely on like the industry at large, although people within it have been supportive, just like the decision makers at the end of the day. But I do think that, I mean, my main goal is to make this good enough that it gives other people like a new, like that, you know, old white guy at the studio might be like, oh, maybe that one pitch that we got with the little person, we should call that guy back in. Because like, I'm kind of understanding, because there's so much history, so many like real stories you could adapt that just like scream motion picture to me. So many like different avenues you could take with actors with dwarfism, so many different, like, we exist across all different races, sexualities, genders, like, come on, where's Pose with little people? But no, but
exactly. I mean, I remember being in the community and I'd be walking down Christopher Street and there were people of every shape and size. Like, so it's not that it doesn't happen or that there aren't people out there. It's exactly like you said, like, we just don't see it on screen anywhere or hear about it on, you know, media.
And 1.6 billion people have a significant disability. 1.6 billion people have a significant disability. So we gotta like fight the power because we exist. And we'll all be elderly one day and have different types of disabilities regardless.
Yeah.
So many of which mirror.
That's
what
like the
have.
most amazing. When I remember you saying that in a video too, and I was like, so many people don't even really think about that. As you age, your body changes and things happen. You can have an accident today and things change tomorrow. So yeah, I mean,
and all of mine, like literally, I feel like all of my experiences relate to like what it's like being a senior citizen. Like you can't reach stuff, you can't like bend into weird spaces, you have arthritis, you have bone pain, you need stuff like help getting like different types of shoelaces, different types of stuff for like it's the same. So I'm like, that's what the ableist and like karma is gonna come. Like everyone's like, oh, you could be in a car accident and be disabled, but I'm like, no, you'll still be in a wheelchair when you're old.
Yeah, exactly. You could live your whole life healthy and then one day just be, an old person, unable to do certain things. It's like, hello.
That's why we need to show like the beauty in having a disability and like being older. We don't see that representation a lot. It's usually like they're in a hospital bed or they're like severely unhappy. But like, yeah, people are really scared of being disabled or catching a disability. And it's like, no, it's not bad. We need to, hopefully one day we'll look back at that like, and be like, we ever thought that was weird?
Times change constantly. So Aubrey, I am optimistic as you. Yeah. I feel like the right person is going to fall into the community and they'll come up with the right idea. That's unfortunately how it happens. It's like when people experience things, all of a sudden they're like, oh no, we should have been doing this all along. And
think of Jordan Peele with Get Out, even just like when it comes to recent movies and representation of how it's like every single month there's a new like spin-off of that was greenlit the moment Get Out came out. And the moment that executive saw Us, they were like, we need to do that now.
Exactly.
So I'm ready to oversaturate the market if it's my little rinky-dink project that gets the gears going.
I'm excited for it. I really am. I know, and I've shown a bunch of people, so we're trying to get you some support, baby. Let's do it.
I appreciate it so much.
So, I've been following you now for some time, and after speaking with you, you're like such a light in this world, and you have like a natural ability to pull people in. I think you shine every time you're on screen, and the way you carry yourself with such confidence, and you have such a cool attitude. You're so damn stylish and smart. So I want to know, what are some of your favorite things about yourself that maybe people wouldn't think of?
Well, first of all, I'm so flattered. Thank you very much. I would say, I don't know. I try to be as like real as possible. I think that most people know me for my sense of humor, which I pride myself for, because sometimes I'm like, I have been through some traumatic stuff. So I'm glad that I'm able to use humor to cope in a way that I don't feel is like offensive, because I feel like sometimes people can use that excuse for the wrong reasons. So I'm thankful for that. But I just try to be as like, we just need more love and light in the world. And I try to remember consciously that, because I think that's the only disconnect I've had lately with TikTok, is just like, I cannot comprehend that many people. Like after I think 10,000 people truly, I think your brain kind of like turns off from, and after having videos do well a few times, like I feel like you don't really connect with the fact that these are like real people, to be quite honest, sometimes. Especially if there's not a lot of people commenting. If it's just like likes and views, it's like, you don't really know what's going on. So I think that it's really, I just hope that people, that's why I try to be conscious of like putting out things that are positive. I've tried to pivot away from some stuff. I've tried to, if I realize I'm getting a lot of attention, try to pivot to like educational content. I think it's a give and take, but overall, I just hope people are for lack of a better word, inspired. Just understand that I go through my own bouts of insecurities. I'm right now realizing that I let my fear of ableism and racism stop me from dating this last like 2 years.
No.
So
that means Aubrey's single.
So I just think it's one of those things that I hope people understand, that like we exist in many different ways and we're complex people, and that their takeaway is that, yeah, it's all about positivity. I try to make sure that it doesn't like steer towards like anything that's dramatic or not productive, but I'm still learning.
That's okay. You're human. That's what I think that's also what's scary about social media, is because, like you said, with so many people, just as you may forget some of them are people, they may forget that you're a person. And it's like, hello, you may be having a shitty day, and if someone does say something to you uncomfortable, it could fucking piss you off or upset you.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I have to disconnect.
Emotions.
That's why I have to disconnect, because I think it was like, when I made my funniest video back like months before I had a ton of people following, and I thought it was so funny, and it was the video where I was like pretending to be Megan.
Okay.
And my little brother helped me film it. We were like laughing. It was just so funny to me. And that was the one that they were like, just tons of the same comment verbatim. Like, all I could picture was a car hitting him when he crossed the street. I wish a car would have come out, would have been so funny. And I remember being like, this is how people have like spirals when they like read the comments. Because before it was always like me and the girls, like it was just like a few of us hanging out. But yeah, that was when I had to start being like, I mean, when I say these aren't real people, I mean like I can't take what they say personally.
No, exactly.
That's like a blank comment. I definitely connect with a lot of people and recognize people. Like, that's why I said yes to this, because I've seen you before in the comments. We've interacted a little bit. Like, I know you exist and are like a real nice person. Whereas others, it can definitely be like a sea some days of just the same, like, be creative, guys. You think you're small, like, be creative. I'm hopeful that it's just, I don't think this is a good thing to hope for, but I'm hopeful that it is just like children on this fucking shit saying dumb things, and that they grow and they evolve into better people. But I hope I catch them before they're like damaged forever.
Yes. And I think you do, the way that you are and how empathetic you are towards people too, because you can react and be an asshole just right back if you wanted to. I think you're more than justified. But the reason why too is truly because my delusional brain is like, if I'm sitting here yelling at every person calling me a midget, how am I going to get invited to the Rock Nation brunch? I'm dead. Yes, bitch, there's an end game.
So I think if I'm like being positive, educational, informative, and then leaving all that behind, and it's also only going to get worse. So it's a good lesson in sticking with it and remembering like what this is all for. It's to connect with people, to share stories. I get called, literally get filmed driving, called the M word out the window all the time. Like a few comments, a few thousand comments isn't gonna do anything to break me.
Well, don't let me see it. But
if my friends and anybody else witnesses stuff, I'm
I
always
can imagine.
Go ahead. I'm literally Beyonce in the elevator. That's literally me. I'm like, whatever I preach is about me, not about what other people react. Other people like, I would beat this person up, and I'm like, go for it. Like, I wouldn't fight somebody. I wouldn't do that. But if someone did that for me, I'd be okay with it.
But I got your back, boo. And I'm not above it. So. But lastly, Aubrey, because we've been having a good old fucking time, let's get back. But lastly, I just want to ask you, because I always make it a point to ask the guests, like, what nonprofits you can suggest to our audience so they can check out and possibly donate time or money to, show their support if they can. Do you have any organizations we should know about?
Yes, 1 in 4 Coalition. It's a really amazing disability advocacy group. Recently, I was able to go to my first movie premiere because of them and the fact that they were working to make it more accessible in general.
Okay.
So definitely check them out. They 1 in 4 Coalition, I think it's 1in4coalition.org. But they're just really amazing. It's a team of disabled people in the industry just working to make Hollywood and spaces more accessible. I don't know if they do, and the name 1 in 4 just comes out of the fact that 1 in 4 people in the US have a disability.
Okay.
Which is a large number that I feel like is not
highly overlooked, because I'm like, I didn't know what 1 in 4 really stood for, but that is like a lot, a lot more than you would assume. So
yeah, like if you were in a packed room, that would be a lot of people leaving there. Like if you were like 1 in 4 people gotta go. Like so they're an amazing organization. And also Little People of America is the largest organization in the US. And it's just for members only, people who have dwarfism or who are parents of people with dwarfism, but people can still support the organization. They have a lot of resources. I would check them out for sure. It's Little People of America.
Definitely. Aubrey, this has been so much fun.
So fun.
I think this is one of the most fun interviews that I've had, and it's like super educational, but I'm like, that's what you do. Like, you have a TikTok class, honey. That's what you give.
True. Like I need like a school. I need an academy. I need enrollment. I need dual semester. Like, come on, people. Dwarfism education. I need to be at Harvard. Well, that's my goal. I'm like, well, maybe again, me being delusional, I'll be like, well, I'll just keep making these dwarfism education videos, and then Harvard will call me. And be like, come and do. Isn't Megan Thee Stallion teaching a course or something? I
have no idea, but that sounds like you should get in there.
I feel like I should be giving some speech and be like, listen, guys, I didn't go to a 4-year university, but still,
I'm here.
I made it. No, thank you so much. I'm so glad we had to do this. It's been so fun.
Me too. Everyone, please go ahead and check out Aubrey Smalls on social media. The Aubrey Smalls. I'm at Aubrey Smalls as well. And we will put all the information in the description of this video. Thank you so much, Aubrey.
You're the best. Mwah.
Thank you again for tuning into another episode of Lifestyle of the Broken Creative Podcast. A special thank you to our amazing guest, Aubrey Smalls. Be sure to follow him and show your support on all his social media platforms, at the Aubrey Smalls or just at Aubrey Smalls. Also, if you are able to, make a contribution towards his film. You can do so by visiting dearaverageheightpeople.com. There you can watch the trailer for the film, learn more about the feature, as well as make a donation to help with production and other costs. If you are watching this episode on YouTube, please make sure to like, comment, and share this video. Visit the channel for more episodes available now, and subscribe to help us grow the channel. For everyone else streaming on your podcast platform, you can make a monetary contribution to the show by hitting the link at the bottom on the description of this video. Do so by purchasing one of our custom designed notebooks available on Amazon, or by buying one of or all 3 of my children's books, also available on Amazon, or you can make a direct donation to our show. I want to thank you all again for your continued support. Remember to spread peace, love, and happiness, and always be creatively you.